Dispatch is a new story driven episodic game from Ad Hoc Studios. And 2 episodes in, it's one of the most promising narrative experiences we've ever seen since Telltale's collapse. In this video, I'm breaking down 4 key areas: the narrative and pacing, the voice acting and characters, the gameplay mechanics, and the overall direction and vision. Quick disclaimer before we dive in, I'm keeping things as vague as possible because there will be minor spoilers ahead. If you want to go in completely blind, bookmark this and come back later. Let's start with the story. Now, The Walking Dead is one of my favorite game experiences of all time. Telltale created some genuinely groundbreaking narrative experiences, and they still collapse under poor financial management. Outside of The Walking Dead, most of their games barely turned a profit. So when I heard that Ad Hoc Studios had actual Telltale veterans on the team, I had to know. Did they learn from those mistakes? When it comes to narrative and pacing, I think they did. The writing in Dispatch is legitimately good. Episode 1 focuses heavily on introducing both main characters and establishing a key villain who's clearly been set up for later. I'll admit, I wasn't immediately hooked. I turned off quick time events, which left me with very little to actually do, and the dispatch mechanic was only barely introduced at this stage. It's a solid introduction, but it's doing a lot of setup work. That said, the pacing never drags. They're not wasting your time, and by episode 2, things start clicking in a way that episode 1 only hinted at. The foundation they lay here pays off, and that restraint, the willingness to build slowly without padding runtime, feels like a lesson learned from Telltale's rushed production cycles. The voice acting is phenomenal. Or should I say, phenomenal. God, I miss good voice acting. Aaron Paul genuinely surprised me here. I wasn't crazy about his performance in Invincible, but he does an incredible job. His tone and mannerisms are a little subdued, but the writing team really did a good job fitting this character to his strengths. Episode 2 introduces several more key characters, and there's not a single weak performance in the bunch. I also recognize a few voice actors throughout, which was a fun bonus, including Joel Haver, who may be one of my favorite characters so far. The characters themselves are set up well, each one feels distinct and purposeful, though some naturally get more focus than others, which makes sense. You can't develop everyone immediately. There's also the Suicide Squad energy to the ensemble that works really well for the tone they're going for. One thing that did bug me though, the dynamic between the blonde Blazer character and Robert Robinson feels a little forced. It's a minor complaint, but there are moments where the game pushes you towards choices that don't feel like your choices, essentially removing the player agency to serve a specific character relationship. I get that they're telling a story, not necessarily your story, but it's a friction point worth mentioning. That said, it's not a deal breaker, just something that stood out to me. Dispatching heroes is fun. I genuinely enjoy the thought process behind it. The character management system, weighing who to send where, and dealing with the consequences. Episode 2 really showcases how the team can intersperse these strategic dispatching moments with more traditional episodic storytelling, and the balance works. That said, it's not entirely clear what failing missions actually does. How does it affect your characters? How does it impact the story? I wish there was more nuance there, more visible stakes tied to your decisions. Right now, it feels a little opaque. I'm glad dispatching isn't the only mechanic because that would get old fast. Expanding mechanical variety between episodes is going to be crucial for keeping players engaged long term. There's also this hacking mission concept that's a little undercooked. It's lightly used and the execution is alright, but it doesn't feel truly integrated into the experience. It's not detrimental, just there. What I do really appreciate is how they're mixing these interactive elements with the core episodic structure. Dispatching heroes, managing your team, making choices, it all flows together in a way that feels more engaging than most Telltale games I've played. It's not revolutionary yet, but the direction they're taking is making real strides forward. The combat scenes are probably the weakest element for me. The fluidity of the character animation feels a little bit off, and the hits don't quite land with the impact that they should. Punches don't feel heavy, and the choreography could use some polish. It's not a deal breaker, but it's noticeable. That said, you can tell serious love and direction went into this project. Ad Hoc isn't trying to repeat Telltale's mistakes, they're actively learning from them, and it's working. The vision is clear. They want to make episodic narrative games sustainable, both creatively and financially. And 2 episodes in, I can see exactly what they're building towards. I'm genuinely interested to see where this goes. Unfortunately, only the first 2 episodes are out right now, and they're releasing on a weekly schedule. I get why they're doing it, it builds anticipation, keeps the conversation going, but personally, I wish they'd drop all at once. If you're on the fence, it might be worth waiting until all the episodes are out so you can experience the full story without the wait. But if you're starving for a well-crafted narrative game that respects your time and actually understands what makes the genre great in the first place, Dispatch might be worth your attention. So does Dispatch work? I think it does. The narrative and pacing are solid, the voice acting is phenomenal across the board, and the gameplay mechanics, while not perfect, show real promise in how they blend strategy with traditional episodic storytelling. There are rough edges, sure. The combat scenes could use some polish, some mechanics need deeper integration, and a few character dynamics feel slightly forced, but the vision is clear and the execution is strong. And most importantly, it feels like Ad Hoc Studios learned from Telltale's collapse. They're building something sustainable here, something that respects both the genre and the players who love it. And as someone who's been waiting for episodic narrative games to make a real comeback, this is incredibly exciting. If you enjoy this breakdown, make sure you like the video and subscribe for more game analysis. And let me know in the comments, are you playing Dispatch? What do you think so far? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next one.